Hello, this is Amin Alsaden. I've been invited by the McMaster Museum of Art to curate the new exhibition, What of the Eternal Harm Lurking All Around? This anti-war exhibition emerged out of my research into the museum's holdings, and it orchestrates a dialogue between historical pieces from the museum's collection and contemporary works by artists from geographies affected by present-day turmoil, particularly Southwest Asia. At the most fundamental level, the exhibition examines the ways in which artists across time and cultures have depicted war, and it does so by intervening in, through a critical curatorial framework, and activating the collection. The museum's collection offers traditional portrayals of war, to be scrutinized like archival materials that emerge from specific contexts. The 16th century print captures a convention of depicting battle scenes, an artistic tradition that dates back to ancient civilizations. These representations were often commissioned by monarchs keen on celebrating military campaigns and glorifying victories over enemies. Avoiding a sober assessment of the brutal reality of war, the emphasis here is not on carnage, destruction, or cruelty. Instead, these are meant to highlight the heroism of soldiers and the drama of epic clashes. These early 20th century works by one of the most important modern artists to capture the ravages of war come from a series that depicts a historical uprising, when peasants revolted against the aristocracy and religious authorities to protest social and economic oppression that resulted in widespread poverty. Employing her signature stark contrast and rough textures, the artist denounces violence. These works come from a renowned series where the artist calls out war's repercussions, especially the immense casualties it leaves in its trails, often overlooked by traditional representations. They have become some of the most important modern depictions of war, which could only be produced by those who experienced their horrors firsthand. In this case, the artist was both a participant, as a soldier, and a direct observer of the brutality of conflict. Complementing the collection works are recent artistic productions that interrogate war's less perceptible horrors. Whereas the collection features conventional mediums, the contemporary, time-based works, which are characteristically elusive, ephemeral, and dynamic, shed light on the futility of capturing the multifaceted and far-reaching impact of organized violence. Unlike their predecessors, the invited contemporary artists do not merely depict battle scenes and tragic casualties. Instead, they employ nuanced conceptual approaches based on lived experience, raising critical questions about the detrimental legacies of conflict. They emphasize how war evades representation and elucidate the immense losses, ruptures, and agonies that constitute the reality of the world's interconnected societies. This artist inquires into how representations of war may reveal some invisible repercussions of conflict, such as mass displacement. The animation, based on charcoal drawings, tells the story of a young boy who expresses a wish to escape a troubled land through a drawing of a boat, which he had hoped would magically transport him to a safer place. Conjuring the fantasy of a fertile imagination, the work also hints at the tribulations that instigated such a tender gesture. This artist investigates how conventional representations of war can obscure a community's history, cultural traditions, and capacity to thrive despite the violence of prolonged conflicts. While this work evokes archival footage, it was produced recently in analog film in collaboration with the artist's friends and family members. It explores the indigenous knowledge, kin ties, and intimate connections to the land embodied in ancient folk tales and ancestral songs, seen as tools of resistance. This artist interrogates how representations often fall short of capturing what she describes as ruptures in time and space, which result from war's violence. She explores the potential for that very condition, the sudden break or rupture of life, to become itself the subject of art. Replaying a childhood memory in different ways, she implies that repetition can be an avenue toward understanding or a method of working through trauma, a pivotal moment that eludes comprehension. The exhibition identifies conflict as the culprit behind the most harrowing calamities of our time, including mass destruction, dispossession, and displacement. War has long cast a dark shadow over human history, but art has increasingly helped reveal the abuses of power as well as the alarming fragility of our collective existence. Art bears witness, levels critique, and catalyzes resistance, especially at a time when war continues to wreak havoc at an unimaginable scale. For artists to foreground war is not to transport us to an anomalous realm, that of strangers in distant, unfathomable places. Communities here in Canada, as well as elsewhere, suffer the devastating repercussions of armed aggressions, which obliterate countless lives and haunt survivors with perpetual trauma. For many, war's all-encompassing harm is eternal, lurking all around. Iraqi poet Sargon Bolis articulated these very ideas in his heart-wrenching poem, Daughter of War, which inspired the title of this exhibition and where he denounces the horrors of war. This exhibition is an invitation to contemplate the role that art can play in creating spaces for empathy and reckoning.